Greetings, travelers. You don't see Mark here. I know, it's weird. So, Mark and Bo and Carrie all went to Squonkapalooza, and apparently the squonk is real because Mark didn't come back. No, just kidding. I'm totally teasing. Don't start that rumor. Actually, Mark unfortunately got some convention crud that happens every now and then. He's not feeling great, but we have such an amazing set of guests today that it's just me and Wesley, our Eerie travel stuffed dog, that helps me through these times. Just kidding. So, yes, it is just going to be me today, and Bo is behind the scenes clackety clacking away to make sure this is a possibility. There's a couple things I want to remind everybody of. One is, in case you did not know, today is the anniversary. Well, this is going to air on the 20th, and the 21st of August is the anniversary of Hopkinsville, and we're going to be doing an episode on that shortly. And then, as a reminder, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be at PopCon Louisville. Mark and Carrie are going to be down at Tampa Bay Comic-Con. Of course, we're all going to be at Dragon Con, including Bo. We have like way too many panels. I don't know how we're going to do them all. And it's up and going. So Bigfoot Story Adventure Night, if you want to come join us out in the middle of nowhere camping, and you probably will survive, but I do believe in collateral damage. So if only a couple of you make it, totally fine, but otherwise it's going to be tons of fun. So without any further ado, Bo, let's pop these guests here. Hello. So it is wonderful to have all of you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
So, Christina, I want everybody to introduce themselves, but I want you to give a little bit of a synopsis. I mean, the name of this episode is The Woman in the Lake, your quest to find your missing mom. Can you give us a little synopsis of what we're talking about today?
So yeah, when I was 8 years old, June 26, 2001, was the last time my mom was seen. She was supposed to pick me up the next morning from Girl Scout camp, which happened to also be her birthday. So then June 27th, she didn't show up. She didn't show up to work that morning. She didn't show to pick me up. From there, that led to a almost 22-year search to find her, which is where I've got Cam that helped on social media, and Mike and Britton that actually found her back in January of last year.
So, yes, I'm sad with the outcome, but I'm happy that there was a conclusion to finding her. So, Cam, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
So my name is Cam. I go by Swamp Witch on TikTok and Instagram. I cover missing people cases as well as mysteries and other weird, strange events that go on. But I met Christina back in 2021 when she reached out to me asking me to cover Karen's case. And right off the rip, there was a lot of really weird coincidences. Like, I went to school in Davie where Karen vanished from. June 26th is also my mother's birthday. That's the date that she vanished, and her birthday. It was like it was meant to be, and I felt very drawn to the case, and I really wanted to help and do whatever I could to bring more attention to it.
Awesome. Okay, Michael, how do you fit into this?
Yeah, so my name is Mike Sullivan, and I own an organization called Sunshine State Sonar. And we're a sonar search and recovery team that works on cold cases. We specialize in missing person cases where people went missing in their vehicles. And so we work those cases throughout the state of Florida. We only work in the state of Florida. And we picked up on Karen Moore's case, Christine's mom, and we worked on that case back in January of 2023, and we located her submerged vehicle with remains.
Awesome. We have one more guest jumping in. Here we go. Depths of history.
So my name's Britton Lockhart. I have a YouTube channel called Depths of History. At first, it was kind of dedicated to treasure hunting and metal detecting, searching for whatever I could find. Then over the course of some years, I got scuba certified. Then started searching for vehicles and started getting into more of a meaningful job with scuba diving, searching for lost loved ones and their vehicles underwater. Over the last 3 years, I've been a part of 8 cases being solved. Mike and I have solved, the case of Karen Moore together, and Mike has recently solved, how many cases did you? 4 cases this week, you were saying?
Yeah, let's something like I lost track. I know, it's been crazy. I'd like amazing, 4 or 5 man. Or something like that. Yeah.
So I saw this on YouTube. So before I met Christina, I happened to meet Christina at Tennessee Terror, a convention, and she introduced herself. We were talking about it. When she said it, I was like, I watched that entire thing unfold. What? Let's go back to, Christina, your mom disappears, right? And the case goes, how quickly does this case go cold?
Honestly, within about a year or less. There wasn't much to go off of. Back then, you didn't have GPS, cell phones tracking things like that. Cameras weren't like they, are now. There just wasn't hardly anything to go off of. My uncle, actually, he rented a helicopter to fly over Davie to try to see if they could see anything.
Oh, wow. So it goes cold. What was the theory back then? Because we know where she was found, but what was the theory back then of what had happened?
So there was a couple different theories. People thought, so my parents were in the process of a custody battle and divorce. One was maybe she just took off, which never sat right with me. There was also the theory, the spouse is always looked at first, so my dad. But then you do have waterways and stuff as well, which is where my uncle, he got the helicopter to start looking over the area just to see, but nothing was able to be found at the time.
So now let's fast forward, because there's some creepiness that goes along that path, but let's fast forward to Cam, when you get involved in the situation. So where do you pick up from there?
So I don't pick up until 2021 when Christina reached out to me. And at that point, it was completely a cold case. There were no new leads in years and years from what I remember. And I remember just thinking how devastating that had to be as a daughter to not know what happened to your mother all those years. So I came in and covered it and got attention on the case the best that I could at that time, and just tried to keep Karen Moore's name alive and the story of what happened to her so that hopefully one day it could be solved.
And then Britton and Mike, you guys, what made you go look where you looked for her? What started that?
Well, our day, basically the way the video went was how the entire day actually went. So we had been talking about, there was 4 cases in Davie that we were looking at, 3 of which had specific cars, that we were looking into. But the main case that we were focused on was Howard Gratteau, which was a case, Mike knows a little bit more about it, but he was a AC repairman, and basically left for work with his van and was never heard from again. And his license plate actually does say Howard on it. But we started searching for him. We were looking at a canal to go into. Then we just, we decided to go down the road to a little canal that fed into a lake. And that lake just happened to be right where we found Karen Moore's vehicle underwater. So we found the car, and I'll let Mike go into a little bit more detail about this.
Yeah, I mean, when you work down in Broward County, and like we have a list, there's between Miami-Dade and Broward County, there's 32 missing persons cases with vehicles involved. And so when you're working on one case, all these cases overlap in the same area. I mean, right in the same area, you've got another nurse that was missing just 11 months before Karen went missing, Libby DiBenedetto. She's also from Davie, Sunrise. Actually, she's from Sunrise, but was last seen in Davie. So you have all these cases that like overlap each other, and we had our eyes on all of them. And so, yeah, we were running sonar in that lake, and we got a hit on the back side of the lake. And it was weird because it was in an area of the lake you would never expect a car to be. There's a shopping center with a guardrail. There's big trees. So I looked at Britt and I said, man, whatever car this is, it's been here for a long time, because you can't drive a car in here right now with all the thick trees and guardrails where the car came into the water. So, we knew that the car had been there quite a while.
So sonar goes and pings, like I'm just asking because I'm not as educated in this. So sonar pings against things. How do you tell that you've got a vehicle?
I mean, just from the shadows, it's interpreting shadows. The easiest way that I would explain sonar to somebody is, picture a room with 4 walls and it's all dark. There's no windows. You can't see anything at all. Okay. And then you take 3 or 4 people and just place them randomly inside that room, and then crack a hole on the ceiling and shine a flashlight down. You're not going to see the people. You're going to see the shadows behind the people.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to interpret those shadows. And people like us that read sonar, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the shadows. We're looking for the shape of an automobile, and that's basically how it works. And it's not as easy as people think. I know a lot of people think you just drive around in a boat. Oh, and there's a car, and it just shows up like a little cartoon character. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of skill involved in reading these sonar screens. I know the guys from Adventures of Purpose make this stuff look easy. It's not as easy as people think it is. And I think at first when we seen it, I would say we're a little skeptical, but then after coming back with the live scope, me and Britton were like 100%. We knew that this was an upside down car.
Wow. Okay, so then you go, we got to pull this out. So then what happens next? I know the video, but some people watching this and listening might be going, I didn't see the video. We're going to put a link in the notes, but what do you do then when you guys realize you
Britton
have a
dives it.
vehicle?
Tell them about the dive, Britton.
So basically, I get ready on the shore and I go to dive it. There's a buoy basically on the top that's marking, the magnet line going down to the car. I go down the magnet line, and the first thing that I see is the Saturn. It basically it's not even like an emblem. It's just the word Saturn on the back of the car because that body style back then, from that 1990s kind of body style of the car. And I was looking at the rims too, looked like an older style of rim too for a Saturn. So I knew it was an older car. However, the way the vehicle was positioned, the license plate was so stuck in like mud that I would literally physically have to dig down. I could feel the letters, but being down there with limited visibility, and especially like with my tank, I didn't have too much air left. I came up and gave the vehicle description to Mike, and immediately he knew that this was most likely Karen Moore's vehicle. And at that point, we called the police. They came down to assess the scene, kind of just ask us where the vehicle was, and they asked us if we had any, key identifying factors. And of course, I felt the license plate, but I didn't know at that time that it was her vehicle. And so we told the detective that we would meet him in the morning. Well, we get back to the Airbnb and we're looking at the video and we're comparing it to the missing flyers, and the wheels look the same, the emblems, everything is matching to her car. So we get up later that next morning at 6 a.m. We go out there, and they had their dive team out. We're able to confirm that it was Karen Moore's vehicle because he was feeling the license plate, and then they got a tow truck out of there. They did use lift bags to get the vehicle out of the river. And yeah, Mike, do you have anything to add? Sorry, I just kind of took over the whole story.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, no, no. I think you pretty much got it. I would say this, like, I remember when you were diving, like I'm up on the boat, and we got 3 people missing in Davie in their cars. We got Libby DiBenedetto, we got John Gallardi and his Ford Taurus, and we got Karen Moore. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, please be, a Taurus, a Camry, or a Saturn, because we knew we had a sedan, right? We knew on Saturn this is going to be a 4-door sedan. We got 3 people missing in Davie, all missing in sedans. And when he came up and he said Saturn, I'm like, oh my gosh, we just found Karen Moore. I think you saw my excitement. I think I was screaming in the video. I'm like, are you serious? With a couple explicits, and I'm like, we just found Karen Moore. I mean, it was crazy.
So that whole entire situation was amazing. But now let's flip over, Christina. Did you know they were looking at that time, or was this separated at this point?
It was separate. I knew of a different search company through the detectives that had told me about that were out searching. I didn't know when, where, and why until after any vehicle was found. I would get a phone call and get a, confirm, deny, but it would always be the deny. I had never even heard of Sunshine State Sonar Depths of History until she had been found. So I didn't know that they were working with the detectives.
Wow. So you get notified she's found. What was that like?
So I I had always told people if I ever do get confirmation that she's found, it'll probably be when I'm at work. It'll never just be, in a moment where I'm relaxed. It'll always just be at work. And it happened to be on a day that I went into work when I was scheduled to be off, 20 minutes before where I work even opens up. And I usually don't get phone calls from the detective. It's very, very rare. So when I see a Florida number pop up, I'm like, I need to go take this. But then before I answer, I'm like, it's a Saturday. Why on a Saturday? And the second I answer the phone, I hear the detective, and I can just hear in his voice when he goes, Christina. In that moment, I knew.
Okay, sweetie. It's okay. So no worries. So you find out, Cam,
Yeah.
you find out she's been found. What was that like for you?
Christina messaged me on TikTok and she said, from what I remember, she said, I wanted to thank you for covering my mom's case. And I just wanted to let you know that she was found a week ago. And I asked for more details after the fact, but I had to sit down for a second and just like really process that because I was kind of in shock as well, that she was found and that, you know, Christina could have that closure and that peace after waiting so long. Like that was monumental. And I mean, Karen's case is one that haunted me even after I had covered it in 2021. So to have that and knowing that she was found and that Christina had that was everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Christina, if you're able to, if you're not, that's fine.
Oh,
Um,
no, I'm good. It's just
okay, just
emotional right at front.
giving you a moment. So, when they found her, it is, from what I recall you telling me the story, they think her death happened very close to her disappearance date, correct?
Yeah, so they believe it happened when she went missing, her initial report night. So that would have been the 26th then. So she was seen leaving the house that I grew up in by a neighbor late that evening. And my mom was a nurse. She always got up early. She was never one to be out after like 7 o'clock at night, but they saw her leaving around 10, I believe. And I have no idea why she would be out that late. And she hadn't been seen since. She was supposed to be at work, I believe, at 5 a.m. and didn't show.
This is just, I mean, it's sort of an unbelievable story. This happened. And really, you know, Britton and Mike, this kind of, how you just talked about finding 5 people so far this week, right? Doing this, what is this like to bring closure to families when you know, it's horrible to find in that these people are no longer with us, but you are bringing closure to knowing where they went.
I mean, it's rewarding. You know, it's the families that keep us going. We do this. We don't do this for law enforcement. We don't do it for the police. We do it for the families. That's what motivates us. It's so rewarding when you get to meet these families after. I just got off the phone call off of what a guy that we found. He was a 20-year veteran, and I just spoke to his son. Very emotional conversation. His dad walked out 20 years ago, left his walker sitting in the parking spot, and was never seen again. And he drove into a lake. I mean, it's the families that keep us going. And I think Britton will agree with that. And we just
Yeah.
love doing this. We love helping people.
Oh yeah, and I mean just to add on to that, I know I have my YouTube channel where I document, all these missing persons cases, and we try to do it in a very professional manner with, respect to the families. With that, to be honest with you all, I wish I never even had to video anything. I wish I, had the funds to be able to go and search for lost loved ones without having to video, without having to, share these stories. But it's also good because it brings awareness to the cases. But at the same time, if I could do this without even doing that, I would do it in a heartbeat, just because I mean, it's the way that we're able to, travel to go to new cases and, research new places to help even more families. It's a really good thing that we're able to do that and bring more awareness to the cases, and more leads pop up. So social media is a great thing. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but if I had the chance to not do social media and still do this to help out families, I would totally do it in a heartbeat.
I think that's amazing. It does lead me to go, first of all, what is it like to work with law enforcement when you're calling them? Because I know probably it's different now than when you guys began what you're doing, right? And calling and going. Because, you know, I've seen also the videos of people who find guns in the water and this and that are doing the treasure hunting you were first talking about, right? But what was it like when you guys started doing this with law enforcement?
I always say it all depends which agency you work with. Just like anything else, there's good agencies to work with, and then there's bad ones that that just they don't want to cooperate with you. We've got a case right now where we can't get cooperation from that particular agency, and they're literally stopping us from finding this family's loved one. They have put a flat out roadblock. They actually even tried kicking us out of the city. Like they stopped our search, and
Wow.
this guy's been missing for 45 years. We had to get another law enforcement agency in there to help back us up. It's the Michael John Olson search, and so it all depends. It depends where you're working. Some of them are great, some are bad. It's sometimes their egos get in the way. Of these cases. I think they feel offended that we come in and we do this stuff, and they don't like it. For the most part, because we're a civilian, we're a civilian search team. So, but we've worked with some awesome law enforcement agencies that have done some incredible work, and we couldn't solve half these cases without them.
What about you, Britton? What's your side of it?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think it varies by department. This was about 2 years ago. I was with a group called Chaos Divers in Ohio. They've solved 17 missing persons cases over the last 3 years. We solved a case in Indiana. There was a woman who went missing along with her vehicle, and the moment I started documenting, everything that we were doing, and when the police actually arrived, it's almost like all the like us finding the vehicle and everything that we did kind of went to the side of the curb, and they started treating us like the criminal, and that tends to happen a lot. Some different departments, like I will say, a couple of years ago in Ohio when I was with Chaos Divers, we solved the case of Charles Hanlon. It was a 23 year old missing persons case out of Steubenville, Ohio. We found his truck. I was deputized as a civilian deputy through their sheriff's department, and I think Steubenville's police department is one of the most professional departments out of any department that I've personally dealt with, even in my own city. But it varies based on department, and we try to do our best, um, not to share the bad, like especially with social media and everything, not to share the bad from these people. But if it gets to a point where it's something that needs to be shown, I'll let it be shown on my channel, to have the people tell us what they think.
It's so amazing to me. And I know, Cam, you talk about missing, covering cases, but as somebody that's, watches a ton of true crime and things like that, the amount of stories where you look at how law enforcement can be brilliant and amazing and helpful, but there are some times I'm like, why are you getting in the way of it? It's not like you're doing this. It's not like you were out with the sonar team in the same lake with Mike and he's like, look, I found it first. I mean, that's not what's happening.
Yeah. A lot of, like, especially with that one in Indiana too, it was we really kind of made them look bad, in all honesty, because the family contacted us after they searched that same lake by the same boat ramp, and we went to the same boat ramp and found the car right there. So it's just, it goes to show, that sometimes they do quick work and aren't really looking in the right directions. And of course, too, with different agencies, different technology comes out. Mike and I have really good technology with our sonars, so we're able to see things that other agencies probably can't with their different sonars. So it really just depends.
So real quick, I want to jump in with your statement there. So I was actually told that the lake that my mom was found in had been searched. Had been
Wow.
searched 20 years ago.
Several times I heard, actually. It was
Yeah.
searched multiple times.
So
Wow.
technology definitely also plays a factor. But yeah, I was told at least twice that that lake had been searched.
I wonder what that means to them when they say that. Like, hi, we searched it out there with a flashlight. I don't know. And I'm not saying they did bad police work necessarily. It's just you see these organizations, and Cam, I asked you a question and didn't let you finish. Cam, jump in with the question I asked you and then kept talking. Please.
I forgot what the question was, but I did want to say that, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Sunshine State Sonar, and I follow them religiously online because I know how important it is what they do, because I cover missing people cases in Florida because I'm from Florida. And it does kind of seem sometimes like police are like, they're probably not in the water. I guess it seems like they don't put the effort into searching the countless waterways that are all over Florida the way they should. So that's why these groups of people are so important.
Yep.
And it makes me sad to hear that they get brushed off or even worse treated like criminals when they're the ones bringing closure to families, like in this case. That makes me sad to hear, and I do hope that police learn to work with groups like this in a more civil and understanding fashion and understand how important that they are.
No, I agree. Okay, we're gonna take a quick pause, which does nothing other than us being quiet for 2 seconds so that we can interject the commercial break.
Destiny Beard, the lyrical soprano who will haunt your dreams. With her alluring melodies and intricate harmonies, this dark siren of wistful song shall capture your soul and lead you into the night. Check out Destiny's new single, The Haunting Is Over, with international musicians Sam Haines and Gary Bennett, as well as her other musical works at destinybeard.com.
Greetings, travelers. Now available on Audible and other audiobook platforms, Eerie, Appalachia. Join us, won't you, as we discuss creatures like the Popelick Monster, the White Fangs, the Snallygaster, the Wampus Cat, the Lizard Man of Scapewar Swamp, Bunnyman Bridge, and the Ohio Grassman. All these creatures and more await you if you dare listen to Eerie, Appalachia, presented by Mark Muncie, History Press, and Four Horsemen Publishing.
Look, we did that. So here's my question for you now, Christina. So she was recovered. We're not going to go too much in this because this is still an ongoing investigation. But you do this amazing thing. I have it here because I wanted to share it. Look, where you handed out these amazing friendship bracelets. It's called Karen's Random Acts of Kindness. And what made you start doing this?
So I'm in a bunch of missing persons Facebook groups, and I saw there was a mom had posted about her son was missing, and she actually, anytime she goes out of town, she has these 3D printed little dinosaurs, and attached to it is about her missing son. I wish I could have done something like that, the whole time my mom was missing. But behind that, the name Karen gets a bad rap nowadays. And I wanted to turn it into something good and spread the love and her story. I tried to get her name out there so many times. And that's where I was so thankful for Cam for being able to help me do that. And I wanted to share love and kindness. So anybody that finds them, they can keep the bracelet for themselves or give it to somebody else.
I actually utilize this because I have a friend that lost her son, and she leaves little stones saying Zane was here. I thought it was amazing. I think it's just such a brilliant acknowledgement of that. Do you want to tell us just a little bit more about your mom?
Yeah. So my mom was a registered nurse out of Boca. And anytime she wasn't at work, she was completely immersed in my childhood. We constantly went to the zoo, the Children's Museum, Young at Art there in Davie. Every free moment was dedicated to me and my childhood to make sure it was absolutely the best. We went to the beach all the time. Everything about her was a caring, sharing person.
It's amazing. Now, part of this, though, is you drove past this lake where she was found all the time, right?
Yeah, so I went to Nova Blanche Foreman Elementary there in Davie, right off of Nova Drive there. So the second the detective told me where when I asked him, I immediately knew my school bus drove right past there every single day for years until I moved to Indiana. So I had 3-4 years of driving past. And I always looked that direction. So if you're familiar with the area, there is it's like a pyramid funeral home. And I was always drawn to looking that direction. And I never knew why. And behind there is where the lake where she was found.
Wow. That's
I never
amazing.
thought anything of it until she was found. The second they told me, I'm like, it all makes sense.
No, it does. And I know because it's an ongoing investigation, we can't go much farther into it. But I have to say, for the families that get closure, what is that like? Because for anybody who hasn't had somebody go missing like that, right? We can empathize, but we don't know what that feels like. Like many situations in life, you can't go, you can't put yourself in that person's shoes, right? You can think you might know what that's like, but what was that like? Because you were very young when she disappeared.
Yeah, I was 8. I'm now 31, and to 22 years, it's the constant cycle of you're almost there with closure, but because you haven't found them, that cycle just keeps jumping a step and restarting. So the clock always just would kind of restart with that. And when I got the phone call she was found, that's the true definition of bittersweet. For many years, I had hope. I had hope that she would be found every time the phone rang. And you don't lose hope per se, but you just don't get excited every time the phone rang either. So when I found out she was found, it was absolutely bittersweet. It's gut wrenching, but it's also a new turn in life.
And what is that like from a mental standpoint? Because I don't think that gets talked about a lot. Like you had all that time that was consumed with trying to find her and keeping the awareness and contacting people like Cam and trying to like do that. What was that like to not have to do that anymore?
So I'm actually still learning to live a new chapter in my life. I just told my husband the other day, some days I don't know how to feel. My mom, we had her cremated. She's here at the house with me, and I look over and I'm like, some days it just doesn't even seem real that she's been found because it took so long. But there's a lot of mental health that goes along with this too. I've done therapy on and off for years to help understand emotions and learn how to deal with them. I did many searches on my own through Facebook groups, posting, sharing, and people resharing.
It really is an amazing story. And I'm glad you've gotten to that point of closure on it. I'm going to say that point of closure since it's not all the way closed yet. But okay, so Cam, I've got to ask, what got you into doing all this?
So when I was a little kid in 3rd grade, my best friend at the time was killed in a crash because a drunk driver ran a red light and nailed the car, and she got one single head wound, and that was it. She passed away shortly after, and that person never received justice. She was from Germany originally, so she fled back to Germany, and she got like a $3,000 fine, if that, and a slap on the wrist. And as long as she doesn't come back to American soil, she's good to go. So she'll never face a jury for what she did to her. So since then, I've always been very passionate about justice for missing people and for victims of crimes. And, I really want other families to have the justice and the closure that she and her family were never able to have, because I saw how it affected her family and I saw how they fell apart, and her mom now does really great things in the community for other people who have lost their children. But I think about the families of missing people, like Christina was talking about, of just not knowing at all and not being able to move on and not having that closure because you don't know where they are. You don't know what happened to them. Like, I can't imagine what that's like. And there are a lot of cases, in my personal opinion, that have been forgotten. Some have been swept under the rug, and people move on. People have a short attention span, unfortunately. And to me, it is most important to keep their names alive and to keep people looking for them and remembering them. And if nothing else, keep their story alive so that, their memory can at least live on, if nothing else. Part of what I do is also talking about, the paranormal and strange events and different things like that. And I kind of think it goes hand in hand because there's just a part of the human mind that wants to understand the unexplainable, whether it's a person that went missing and you can't explain why, whether it's, a haunting in a house. There's just a part of the human experience that wants to know answers that we don't have answers to. So I do my best to talk about that and to cover things and to delve into topics that other people might not be comfortable to talk about.
No, I love that. Okay, Mike, what got you started in doing what you're doing with the sonar?
I guess I just got inspired, by the YouTubers, the YouTube community. I'm just watching them. I was a fan of what those guys were doing and helping families and stuff. And so, I have a full time job. I work full time. I've got a very successful business. Got two teenagers, and so for me, it was like I could never do the YouTube stuff. So, I put together a team. We've got a really good team of just friends of mine that get together and do this stuff. And we don't do it very often. I think we go out like maybe once a month, maybe once every couple of weeks. We all get together and we book an Airbnb. We work in a different part of Florida, and we work on cases. And we've had some incredible success over the last really 18 months. We've been able to bring home 13 people now,
Wow.
solve 13 cold cases and it's just in the last 18, 19 months now.
That's phenomenal. I mean, those numbers are just phenomenal. I'm sure if you
I,
look at
I
cold
always
cases.
think I can't even imagine. Yeah, like I can't imagine if we did this full time. We do this like on average once a month, and to find that many people, we always talk about it. Can you imagine if we did this full time? I bet it would probably be dozens of people by now.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes. And the same was you, Britain. You talked about being a treasure hunter. What propelled you? What I know you found the first thing, but is that what motivated you to do this full time? As your thing now?
I mean, for me, it was really, um, it all my channel just started first with treasure hunting, and then being able to search for missing people, came alongside that as something more meaningful that I wanted to do. But through treasure hunting, I was able to kind of create a platform that helped me financially to be able to go down, to work with Mike and to work, with all these different search teams and go on, month long trips and things like that. And I mean, it's very hard. Sometimes we'll go on a month long trip and find, 50 to 75 vehicles, and not one of them solves a case. It's just, it's very hard, and it takes a lot of work, a lot of research, and Mike's doing a great job down there in Florida. And there's not as many cases. I feel like in Florida there's the most water, so that means there's almost the most cases down there versus here in Georgia we've got maybe three or four, but there's not as many waterways. Like you go into Orlando and there's water everywhere, like the Walt Disney World when you guys found Sandra.
Sandra
Mike
Lemire, yeah.
Lemire, yeah, Sandra Lemire, yep.
You found her at Disney?
Yeah, she was at the on ramp in Orlando. It's the World Drive exit in Celebration, which is the exit you take to Disney World as you're heading into Disney. Um, we had searched for, and Britain took part in one of those searches. Me and you teamed up on that as well at one point. We had searched for her. It was probably close to, I think, a year and a half. We had searched for her, and we had, we always searched from her last known location all the way up to the where she lived, which is to the, the north. And we never considered the fact she got on the highway going the wrong way, and that's what she did. She got on I-4 heading towards Tampa instead of Orlando. And so
Oh,
once police gave up that cell phone ping, we found her in one of these tiny triangle ponds that's probably 30 feet by 60 feet on Interstate 4 as you get off the highway. She was right there on the side of the highway for 12 and a half years.
oh my God. I just got goosebumps. I've driven past that so many times. Oh,
Yeah.
whoa. Wow. Okay.
I
Yeah.
had just driven past on that same road about a month and a half prior to him finding her.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow. So how do you find your cases that you guys go look into?
One of our newest team members, her name is Brienne, and she's a 19-year-old college student from Orlando. What an amazing person she is. She has developed a website called Map the Missing, and she has mapped every missing persons case in the United States with a vehicle. And if you go on her website, it's an interactive map. So if you just, it shows where you are. It's through Google Maps, and it shows you every case around you. So just look at where you are, and it shows, you could have 15 cases around you. She's done the whole United States. She's very active with it. She does an awesome job. She comes out on searches with us. She just did a search up in St. Augustine with us, a case we worked in St. Augustine. She came to Daytona Beach with us. So she's awesome. She's so passionate about this community as well, and we've made her part of our team and added her to our website and stuff. And she's an awesome resource just like Shelly, who does all our mapping and stuff like that. The two of them are bouncing ideas off each other when it comes to researching on these missing persons cases.
I think this is phenomenal. I mean, if I'm going to be Britain, how do you find yours? Are you going to start using this awesome website? Because that's pretty badass.
I've used Map the Missing for quite a while actually to find several cases, not only in my area but just like all over. The last case that we solved was in Chicago, and we were looking at that through Map the Missing as well. So it's definitely a vital resource. It's helping a lot of teams, bring answers for families. We never say it's closure. We always say it's answers, because the families will never have closure from their disappearance, but at least they have the answers now as to where they are, and can give them a proper burial.
Mike, what's up next for you guys? You solving 5 cases in the last week. I mean,
We're locked in right now on the Michael John Olson case. It's a West Palm Beach, out of West Palm Beach. That case, we've hit it really hard. I feel like we're getting close. So we located, since we started on this about 6 months ago, we located and dove on 43 submerged vehicles. We ruled 43 cars out. And right now we are on the home stretch of that case. I think we're getting close, and I feel confident. I think we're going to solve this case. I think we're going to find Michael. We've got something big coming up on that case in not a week from this Friday, and I'm looking forward to diving on some really good vehicles that we believe very well could be his car. They look great on sonar. Unfortunately, because they're on private property, we were not allowed to go after we've located the vehicles on sonar. We were kicked off the property, so we've been sort of negotiating with this organization that owns the property to get in there. And these cars are 1.4 miles from Michael Olson's last known whereabouts. So, yeah, we've gotten permission now. We've come to an agreement. We've gotten permission. We also have the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office on our side, and they're going to assist us, and they're going to be present when we get to dive on these vehicles. So we're looking forward to getting back to West Palm Beach next a week from this coming Friday.
wow, cheers, and I hope you find him. That would be amazing.
Yeah, he's
What
been
about
missing 45 years.
Wow.
wow?
So I don't know if you just heard, but that was us that found the mother and daughter, Doris and Karen, worse, another Karen. They were reported missing in 1974, driving a 1961 Chevy Impala. They've been missing 50 years now. And just on Saturday, we found them. We found the mother and daughter. 50 years. It's a very emotional case, when you're there and they're taking the remains of a baby out of the back seat of a car. You can't even imagine how emotional that is. And it was emotional for the deputies that were there. It was definitely a different experience. And I got a phone call yesterday from the father of the 3-year-old. He's now 86 years old. When I picked the phone up, he answered the phone by saying, "You're the guy that found my baby, aren't you?" I said, "Karen, baby Karen, 3-year-old Karen." He says, "Yes, that's my daughter," he said. And it was a very emotional conversation I've had with their family. Their entire family has reached out to me. I think I've talked to 10 or 11 different people now from the Worst family. And, it looks like they just crashed into a canal. They had just moved here from Pennsylvania, and mother and daughter just lost control, went off the road and crashed into a Broward County canal in the town of Plantation, which is actually just a few miles from Davie, not far from where we found Karen Moore.
Which
Wow.
on Sunday, I had actually gotten a text from Shelly while I was at church. She let me know that they had been found, and I took me a minute to process, but I started crying because not even an hour before I was sitting at church thinking to myself, just randomly, I'm like, had I not been at Girl Scout camp, I would have been in the car with my mom. And I'm like, why am I thinking about this right now? Why am I thinking about my mom? And had I not been there and me being in the car too? And an hour later, I get a text from her that a mother and a daughter have been found in a car in a canal.
Wow. Well,
There's all these crazy connections that just keep happening. I mean, what was it, Mike? Couple
Remember the
days
1 year
after?
anniversary? How about the 1 year anniversary when we found your mom? We
Yep,
found
I'll let you tell that story.
So we're coming up to the 1 year anniversary of when we found Karen Moore. And so here we are again, back down in South Florida. And that weekend, we found another mom. She was missing 38 years. We find her not even 12 hours later on that same, like pretty much the same day was the anniversary. We found a kid that was missing 19 years. His name is Kareem Tisdale. And this is all like right on the anniversary of Karen Moore, the 1 year anniversary. So just crazy.
I can't believe how close these people are to, it's still baffling to me that they're not. Anyway, what about Britain? What are you working on?
So I've got a trip coming up the 5th to the 19th. It's going to be about a 3-week trip. I'm going to Tennessee to work 4 cases, West Virginia and Virginia, North Carolina, and then we're going all the way to Alabama, Mississippi, and then I'm coming home. It's going to be a long, long trip. We've got about 15 cases listed out right now, a lot of water to search. I'm going to be with Chaos Divers on that, and going to be working hard to try to find some answers for families. And usually I'll go on those 2-3 week trips, and I'll come home, and then I'll dive my rivers for 3 weeks to a month, just try to kind of settle down from those trips, because it's always good every once in a while to just change up your diving, or to not do something as serious for more than 3 weeks at a time, and just kind of have that mental break from everything.
Well, Britain, I got to ask you, and I'm going to ask everyone, how can people support what you're doing? Like, what is the best way they can support what you're doing?
The best way for both Mike and I is to watch us. So Mike has his Facebook page at Sunshine State Sonar. He's got videos on there and posts, and just following along, and liking the posts, and interacting with these different posts, these videos and things like that. Every viewer and every commenter, everything like that, they mean a lot to us, and without them, we wouldn't be able to go on these missions. So just watching and subscribing, and being there for what we're doing, and just watching what we're doing is a great way to support. There's also memberships options. I don't know if do you have that, Mike, on your page?
No, I don't know. I mean, I have like a GoFundMe on our website, but
Yeah.
we don't really advertise it much or push it or anything
Yeah,
like that.
Well, one
exactly.
I'm going to suggest to all of the travelers that are listening, and anybody who hears this, is to reach out to you guys directly, including Cam, and see how they can support if they want to, because there are so many families that do need the answer to what happened to their loved one or loved ones. And if there's a way to contact you to figure out a way to help support, I think they definitely need to do that. And where Cam is giving the voice to people that maybe don't have a voice anymore, I think it's phenomenal to support something like that, because I mean, my goal for you guys would be for you to be able to just do entertaining things because you've solved all these situations and you brought everybody home. That would be my goal in the next few years, is that with all of the work that everybody's doing, that you can give answers to the families that are out there. And I just think it's a different kind of heroism that everybody here on this show is doing, and it's amazing. And I feel very lucky that you all joined today, because getting the message out about something like this, I couldn't even imagine losing somebody like that close to me, but I love that there are people out there that are helping to bring them home. So thank you all very much. And I'm going to do shameless self promotion time. So, Cam, let me start with you. How do people find you?
So I can be found on TikTok at swamp_witch_, or I can be found on Instagram, which is swampwitchcam, all one word. And both of those have a link to my YouTube.
Wonderful. Mike, how do people find you
Yeah.
guys?
Yes, we're on Facebook, Sunshine State Sonar on Facebook, and you'll see our page.
Wonderful. And Britain?
Mine's just Depths of History. It's on really all platforms: Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and YouTube. And the Depths of History. And I've also got a separate channel that covers missing persons cases. It's called Depths of Mystery. So I kind of go in and research cases, and then do kind of a documentary style video on them.
That is phenomenal. And then Christina, I know you have an amazing website dedicated to your mom. What is it?
It is Karen's Random Acts of Kindness.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining me today. We will have the links to everything everybody just said in our show notes.
Nice.
We'll be sharing those out. I love that you were here. Christina, thank you for approaching and sharing the story.
Yeah, thank you.
And because Mark's not here, I'm going to say this. Do not forget to give those in your life a voice. There are people out there that are absolutely trying to help and to try to find people. So if you don't know what to do, you can reach out to any of our amazing guests. And remember that there is always somebody looking over your shoulder. There are little sort of guardians out everywhere you can go. And don't forget, we will see you on the other side.